Remember some, huh? I ain't gonna jump on y'all too much then. You remember some things anyway, huh? Okay, in the book of Acts. Now you remember last week those of you that was here, y'all remember what y'all remember about last week? Leading up to our lesson tonight. Y'all cold and y'all put it on. Oh, y'all cut the heat off. That's why it's so chilly here. I mean, I'm all right. Anybody else cold? Y'all want to heat?
got my jacket on.
Y'all want to heat on or what?
You gonna start it right with
Well,
that
I know
heat.
it was mighty warm at one time. Then I come down. I said, wow.
You
I
set
guess
me
they
up
trying to
last
save
time.
gas or fuel or something.
You,
Uh,
you, you set me up
what?
last time.
Huh?
No, nothing. I'll talk to you later.
What do y'all remember about last week? Leading up to
Paul was on his way. He was on a boat on his way to Rome, and a storm came and the boat sank.
Yeah, they was on the way.
They had to throw meat and stuff off the ship.
Right. Just kind of bring you up. Last week, Paul leading up to the week before last and on up this week here. Apostle Paul had been on trial. I'm paraphrasing now. Just kind of paraphrasing. Why you getting yourself together? I'm kind of paraphrasing. Paul had been on trial. The Jews had accused Paul of not walking in the type of light they supposed to, because Paul was preaching that you didn't have to be circumcised. All right. So the Jews had a problem up against Paul, and so Paul decided that he wanted to go to the governor. You know how you appeal your case, and so that's what he was doing. So they grant him to go to a higher court. So Paul is on his way. Now watch God now. Paul is on his way to Rome. Rome is in charge of the Rome is big in charge of all of it now. I mean they don't beat up everybody and took over everybody. So Rome is in charge. They the big dogs. So Paul is going to the king, or he going to the emperor to plead his case to get there. So they put Paul on a boat. And Paul is a prisoner. And they got all these prisoners on the boat and they put a guy in charge. So they got to a certain place. The storm came in. Paul first begged, don't go. And the sailors, the captain of the boat, the ship and things, they decided, no, he ain't gonna pay no attention to the little preacher. Preacher don't know what he's talking about. And you know how the world is. Made up their mind, we got all our technology, we know exactly what we're doing. I'm a lawyer, I've been driving this ship all this long, how this guy gonna go, I'm just paraphrasing something. So they wouldn't listen. So they got in there, Paul, when they got on the boat, they kept on going. They decided to go against what Paul had advised. So then, the storm did come, and the storm had just shaking them up and tearing up all around. They thought they were going to lose their lives. Paul said to stay on the ship. God came to Paul and told Paul, everybody stay on the ship. If you stay on the ship, he said the ship would be destroyed, but your lives, you won't lose your life. Well, when time came, when the storm started blowing, they started panicking. They wanted they threw off some of the cargo. We went through that. They threw off some to try to lighten the ship. And then it got to a point where they wanted to lower the boat. The sellers that was selling the boat, driving selling the ship, they wanted to jump off on the life-saving boats and leave the prisoners on there, Paul and the rest of the prisoners on the boat. But they want to save their life. They got panicking for their life. Paul said, don't jump off the ship. So the captain of the boat, ship, said, all you guys stay on the boat. I'm paraphrasing. Y'all follow, I can't. Stay on the boat. So he demanded them to stay on the boat. Because Paul had said so. So sure enough, as they go in there, they run into the sand. They run into a little channel there. And the boat is dark, sort of in between. In the meantime, the front end of the boat is jammed into the wall there, or ground they call it, and all the board of the boats and stuff busted up, and the captain gave order, those who can swim, jump in the water, swim to the shore, and the other guy grabbed to a plank. That's what Frank was talking about last week.
Parts of the ship.
Parts of the ship. So the point that he was trying to bring across last week is that the boat being tore up, but the salvation, the back end of the boat was tore up, but God still allowed them to, however you got to the other shore, God made a convenience for you to get on. Those who couldn't swim were able to get on a plank of wood or boat or log or something to float to the shore. So now, all that is done up until our lesson comes. Now, y'all kind of got a picture kind of what's happening. Okay, now, so look, it says, and when we were escaped, that means when they, after the boat done tore up now, and those who can swim don't swim, Then they knew that the island was called Meta.
Milton.
Malita.
Milton.
Malita. All right, some say Malita, some say Melton. Y'all read it. Y'all pronounce it where you want it. All right. So now, have you? I want you to take the word now. You kids gonna have to sit down for Pastor Talbert get his belt. My mama didn't want to spank you, but Pastor Talbert would get his belt if y'all don't sit still. Now sit down. They had this here island they called, I'm gonna say Melton, y'all say what y'all gonna say. Melton, and they didn't know that island. Now, they might have been there before, but get a picture in your mind. I want you to take, I don't want you to just see history. I want you to see this in your life now. Don't be looking at Paul's life. You become a Paul and you become a prisoner that's on this here boat. You see yourself there. Don't see somebody else. You see yourself as one that's a prisoner on this here boat. All right. Now when they get to, have you ever been the island? I know that this is the island, right? Why them folks want to be in the island? What is the island?
Surrounded by water.
Surrounded by water.
Land. Surrounded by water.
All right, well, we know that, don't we? Huh?
Sits alone.
That's what I want y'all to start coming into. So y'all talking about a land, y'all talking about ground to water around. We know that. We know that. I'm trying to get y'all to get out of the story, the history of things, and see it in life. An island is something alone. Y'all see what I'm trying to get you to see?
Yeah.
See, now, understand, real. I've been, all these years, I've been trying to get y'all to understand. Come on up, Terry, get your book. But we just not getting started. You know the story about how, I know you went here last week, I'm glad you're feeling better too. You know the story how we got to the lesson up to this point about Paul, how he got this. I want y'all to start applying the word of God in your personal life and not seeing it as a history. So you look at the history, you look back there, you see somebody else. Forget, pull Paul, let Paul be whatever your address is. Are y'all following me? You see an island, we know it's land. Remember, God talks to us about things that we are familiar with. You remember they asked him the question, and he said, well, y'all ain't never been to heaven. I'm paraphrasing again. Y'all ain't never been to heaven, so I ain't even be talking to y'all about things in heaven. You wouldn't understand it. I talk to you about things that you familiar with. White folks don't know too much about pig feet. Are y'all following what I'm trying to get across? So when you mention pig feet to the black, they know what you're talking about. I mean, no white folks know about it now, but for a long time, white folks know about no pig feet. You know, are y'all following me? So, but you mentioned pig feet around black, they were familiar with it. So I'm trying to get you to see, get into a thing where it's at your address where you can comprehend it. Or let me give it this way here. On the day of Pentecost, when they were doing all that tongue speaking, you know, everybody was like, gobble, gobble, gobble. I ain't talking about the gobble, gobble, gobble stuff that the churches do. They spoke where every man understood in his own language. That meant the boy with the pants hanging down, and with my grandson and them, I ain't understand a word half the time they were saying. The pants hanging down, they could understand everything they were saying. I ain't understand nothing ZZ said or JJ or whatever them guy's name is when they're rapping. The teenagers understand every word because they're talking their language. Now, I understand Marvin Gaye.
Hello.
How y'all follow? I'm trying to get y'all to understand. I'm trying to get you to understand. So then, here I want you to start understanding the language in your life. Where is the level you at? So when we think about the island here, it says that they, and when they were escaped, now they got away. They escaped. They escaped what? The storm. Right? Then they then they knew that island. Well, man. Then they knew that the island was called Malta. Now the island that I want you to see is, stop and think, when you was rattled, the storm was in your life, you was on this here boat, and you were shook up. You had the nervous breakdown almost. All of this is storm. You up and down. Couldn't pay my rent. Whatever. Couldn't pay my mortgage. My car note. And when everything, when you just escaped, got out of it, you finally did get the car note or the mortgage or the at the hospital or whatever. You was at an island called what? Y'all know what muffler means? You have been wrestling with a storm. When y'all just seen Sandy. The storm was blowing, lights was out, trees were falling, houses was flooded, and then you was at an island all alone. God gave you time to be personally. Watch where I'm at. Personally. My lights was out. It was cold. I went down there to live with I went from his house, I was at Paris house, back to his house, back to Paris house. Me and my wife, because we didn't have no light. And God set me down. I was telling y'all about that a couple of Sundays ago, but you probably, you don't really hear me. I said, guess what? All things work together for the good of the Lord. Watch what I'm at. All things work together for the good of the Lord. I found out, I mean, I always knew that Paris didn't care something about my eyes, but it really brought a thing out of him to take care of his parents the way the boy went completely out of his stretch, which made me and my wife feel so good. Now, I never would experience that had it not been for Sandy. Y'all follow trying to get across. The island, I would personally, personally, island, not all in general, y'all wasn't there. Me alone had the refuge. That's what that word that mean here. Refuge. The island called Meta. It's a word a Canaanite word that means refuge. Y'all know what refuge is, don't you?
Yeah.
Go ahead, man. Spell it. Refuge.
R-E-F-U-G.
Okay.
Anybody know what refuge is? Raise your hand. You wait a minute. Not you.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not talking about him.
Good answer.
Raise your hand if you know.
Is it like a safe haven?
Yeah. Yeah. Y'all hear what she said? God has set up, if a guy did a crime, he was accused of a crime, and then, everybody on him, they had places where they could run to and be protected. Like a safe haven. That's what refuge. Okay. So a refuge is a form. So you're on an island. Personally, it becomes a personal thing, and it's a refuge for you. It's a protected place for you, which we not keep focused on the island because it gives you the opportunity now to personally thank God for the island where ain't nothing else to bother me, where I'm in safe and where I can really focus and praise your name. Are y'all following trying to get it? Because I'm in the refuge, comfortable. See, when I was out there on the storm, I was saying, yeah, Lord. But actually, when the storm was going on and trying to get to the shore over there, swim and stay on the boards and whatever to try to get, I'm panicking. But when I get to the refuge place, I can say, wow, I'm in safe haven. And now I can really pour out of my heart. Y'all probably trying to get across because when I was ripping and running, I mean, I'm self-preservation. I'm not really giving it to God the way I want because I'm worried about trying to get there. But once I get there, I can look back and say, God, look where you brought me. Anybody, can you feel what I'm saying? Yeah. Once you get that safe haven place. Okay, that's.
I was gonna say that like we tend to forget like the spirit of God because he do that all the time, but we tend to forget the spirit that he don't, that he do it. Like every time we go through something, we in something new, so it's like, oh man, it's the end of the world. But then he brings us right through again.
But when you get to that comfort place, that safe place, and look back where he brought you, because you escaped from the storm, and now you can look back. Every now and then you need to just sit back in your living room or kitchen somewhere and see yourself in the refuge. Wow! Look what God has put us. And you can really thank him because you ain't got nobody, you can really focus now. That's what I'm trying to get you to see. A refuge was a place where, and remember now, you are all criminals. The refuge is for criminals. How many of y'all ain't criminals?
I ain't killed
Are y'all
nobody.
see what I'm trying to get you to see? All it said is fell short.
Was that just today?
Oh, you know you. I'm trying to get you to see where your refuge place is for criminals. It ain't for those who ain't never committed a crime. It's for those who committed the crime. And so I guess some of y'all ain't got no business in the refuge place. If y'all get my drift.
Yeah.
But anyway, those who know that they have committed a crime, you need to thank God for the refuge.
Amen.
All right. Okay, so it said, so when they got there, like I said, this is a Canaanite word that means refuge. Y'all can write that down.
Thank you.
I just want to tell, since we got a whole church load of people here, that this is what he's talking about, them cities, is partially what I'm going to be preaching about when it's my turn.
Okay. And the barbarous people second verse, and the barbarous people shew us no little kindness, for they kindled a fire and received us every one because of the present rain and because of its cold. Now, one thing I want to say for all you who've been going through something, all y'all, everybody who done got saved, and those who want to cry, woe me, and when my boat gonna come in, and how come me when I'm gonna get out of this mess. How many of y'all know that Apostle Paul, was caught up to the third heaven? How many of y'all know that? Anybody don't know that? Apostle Paul.
I didn't know that. Caught up in the third heaven.
Apostle Paul was caught up into the third heaven. The third heaven is
Once he got knocked off the beach, you talking about?
being Apostle Paul.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he was caught up into the third heaven. He don't know how he got there, but the third heaven is the sky. Then there's the stars, and then God's dwelling place. Paul is caught all the way up. Any of y'all ever been caught up to the third heaven? Paul was up there so much he seen something that's so dynamite and stuff that he couldn't tell it when he got back down. Now why are you saying that, Rev? Apostle Paul, I ain't never been caught up to the third heaven. Are y'all following me? Paul caught up into the third heaven. That meant that Paul must have been something very important to God. Are y'all following trying to get across? For God to zap him up. Now he ain't never took you up to the sky, the airplane. So watch where I'm trying to go with this here. So that meant that Paul, if anybody had a right to complain, it should have been Paul. I mean, I'm such a good Christian until you caught me up into the third heaven. Now, all I can say for Faith Tabernacle is we come out on a Wednesday night. That's about the best I can say for my Christianity to go and come out on a Sunday. So, I mean, y'all follow me trying to get I cannot boast about I've been caught up in no third heaven. So, if Paul was caught up into the third heaven, that meant that God must have had some special work anointed for Paul. Are y'all following me? But yet, when you follow Paul's record, every time you turn around, Paul was getting whipped, stoned. Paul, the whole Christian life, from the time he got smacked off that beast, Paul ain't had no happiness. I just want y'all, and then you complain. Are you a Paul? Have you wrote the New Testament? Are y'all following? Have you went into strange countries and set up church? What have you done? And yet you don't feel that you feel as though that that God doing you some injustice. All you did. Are y'all following what I'm trying to get across? Paul, I'm trying to get. If Paul could sit back and say, "Man, guess what? If I ain't had to go through no more than Frank Talbert going through, man, my goodness." Are y'all following? You man, you know. And I gotta check myself. You know what? All these different things here, man. Look at Paul. I ain't did nowhere near nothing Paul done. And I want to look at God with a frown face. Ooh, why you let it rain on me? What have you done to God Are you following me? I want you to start, before we start complaining. I know our religion, but it comes up, but when it comes up, we need to kind of check ourselves sometime and find out exactly where we are. But here's the thing, but Paul said he fought a good fight. Never just say he won the fight, because he never, but he stayed there and battled, and Paul suffered. They thought he was dead. You ain't never been almost half dead and all that. Are you following? Don't complain about it. Anyway, he said, and the barbarian people showed us. Y'all know what that means? Barbarian people. Who are them?
Uneducated.
What you say, Jerry?
Uneducated.
Jerry said uneducated. Anybody else?
They don't speak
You
Rome,
said
they
he.
don't speak English. They don't speak Roman, they don't speak Greek.
Yeah, that's right.
Uneducated.
Yeah.
Bad.
They wasn't uneducated. That's why I kept on going. They wasn't uneducated. They were uneducated by the standard of the Romans and the Greeks. They was intelligent people. So anybody that's not in your class, anybody that don't belong to your church, are y'all following me? Barbarians. Where they call. Well, when we come to church, this is what we wear our white dress. So now if you wear some pants in here, and everybody wear their white dresses, barbarian. My point of it is, if they don't ride the same boat you ride, that's what the Greeks see. The Romans and the Greeks thought they was way up here. They done put themselves up here. Anybody didn't come up to their standard, not God's standard. Their standard was considered barbarian. When they didn't speak their language. See, now these people are very intense. So guess what? Every now and then, look what happened here. These here folks outside the church that's barbarians that don't be at Faith Tabernacle. The ones outside there. They barbarians. He said, and the barbarian people did what? That's something Christians don't do. The one sat right beside you and said, hallelujah, sing on the choir with you. The barbarian.
They the one kindled the fire, boy.
You get my point, right? You get my point? Sister Sally that sat right here. All Sister Sally, boy, she had on all that dipstick and that weed. Do you see that weed? That's all they do. And church, are y'all following what I'm trying to get across? Christians got to be kept. Do y'all remember when I preached about the rich man in hell? It was the dogs that had to come and lick the man's sword. The dog, see what they call dog, that was again like the barbarian. Anybody that wasn't into the Jewish thing, everybody would consider dog. But sometimes that wino on the corner would be a better friend to you than Deacon. Ain't nobody named Smith, is it? Deacon Smith in the church. Are y'all following trying to get across?
We got it.
Right.
Okay. So we'll look what about and one look what they did. They didn't just show them some kindness. It said no little kindness. I mean, they went extraordinary. Not they extreme. No little kindness they showed. And it says and they had a reason for. They kill a fire and receive of everyone. Now, this was extraordinary. No little kind. For they kill a fire and receive of everyone because of the present rain and because of the cold. It's 276 people on this here ship.